The tourism sector amidst the Ebola, of course, epidemic. And of course, it's exactly 2 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And we are still into the topical discussion right here. And discussing tourism this time around. And of course, ways to revive the sector. Like we said earlier, that the sector was recovering from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the effects were suffocated by the Ebola epidemic. So we are discussing way forward to ensure that the industry can remain operating and also continue to contribute to the nation's gross domestic product. All right, now we're still discussing the aspect of local tourism in Uganda, and we were talking about how the local tourists don't bring in a lot of money, and I believe we have less numbers and they are paying less at the same time. Yet you find that one foreign tourist can cater for about 50, the money he pays. So now let's talk about boosting local tourism. What is that thing, since you're on ground as a personnel, do you think government can do to ensure that we have more domestic tourists? Because these epidemics are never going to stop. I'm so sure about that. I'm not prophesying doom, but history shows it. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Well, domestic tourism is one of the ways to go in case, of course, these things happen.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, so because now that's the only option we have. Otherwise, we may end up shutting down.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing I've noticed. When you go to the national parks, accommodation is one of the things that drive the nature of the trip you could be having.
Oh, sure.
The vacation.
Okay.
Yes, because if I go to, let's say, Depot National Park, and I sleep over there, and I had a very bad night, today it would be hard for me to have a place to get and drive. I wouldn't be able to see these animals if I had a lot of bed bugs biting me.
Definitely.
Yes, from the bedroom. So when I had a very good night is when I would have the best experience for the next day. So now this one drives us to the accommodations. Well, for the national parks, the entrance fees are fair enough to us. When you look at maybe accommodation, you find accommodations are much higher in the destinations than in the cities.
In the cities, yeah.
When you're here in Kampala, you can get an accommodation of 50, 20, 30,000. You sleep over and then it's a very good room. When you go to the national parks, they are ranging from 100,000 per night.
100,000.
Yes, and most of them, the 100,000 is not having the food. You get. So if I'm paying 20,000 for the entrance in the park, then how do I pay 100,000 in the accommodation?
In accommodation.
You see, accommodation is always too hard for most of them. So now that means if we are to boost the tourism industry for the locals, if we are to boost the local tourism, then that means the accommodation part of it should be looked in.
So accommodation.
Exactly.
The accommodation facilities.
Yes. Yes, they're a bit higher for the locals, and they find they are making everything hard for them to go to the places. They think the tours are expensive.
Definitely.
Actually, some of them would think the tour would be very expensive. They look at if they look at you, like your friends see that you always go to places and you're not playing a tourism role in Uganda. They say, this gentleman is always on the trip. My friend is always on the trip. This guy has money. They be like, because they think accommodation is always expensive, and then in the end it makes the trips expensive.
Expensive, okay.
So if we are to boost the tourism sector well for the locals, then accommodation should be discussed about.
Okay.
I think the government would be engaging the tourism, the accommodation facilities, and then they can be able to have at least
fair fees. Yes,
because some of the accommodations do not have even local food.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can go to a place in Chidepo, in Makshon, where you don't find the local food. I mean, if you not find the katogo, the beans and matoke katogo, you had to find it there. So they have English food in most cases. Okay. So for the local, would look at that as something expensive for them.
And they feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. And then there's one thing we've realized. When you go to the parks, me as a tour operator would love to have access to the national park, but I'm always charged the money. Okay. You get. So if I go to a national park, I'm a tour operator. At times we have to get the pictures, the content for marketing, and at times it's always hard for us because we still have to pay the park entrance and other things. So if there was some working mechanism between the tour operators and the authorities, it will be much better. But however, I really feel so grateful for so far what the journey we've moved. We speak the same language. Yes, because they always listen to us as the tour operators, I mean the UTB, and then Uganda Wildlife Authority, because we're always on ground. Even when you go to the national parks and then we're doing the game drive, you know what they call a game drive?
A game drive?
A game drive is when you drive in the park and then you drive to look for the animals. We have some trucks, I mean the routes, which are designed that you take your drive through as you look for the animals. So we call it a game because it's a game between us and the nature.
The nature, okay.
Yeah, so when we're doing the game drive and happy to find a dead lion, it means something is not right, it's me to first report that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means we speak the same language because always report to them and then they'll be able to play their part as well. So locals, however, they're not expensive like they think.
A game drive?
Yes.
Paying to enter and take those photos?
Yes. And in general, doing the trip, a local is not very expensive. It depends on how you love it. You know, in tourism, we take first the passion. If you have the passion, then there's nothing that is going to hinder you from getting there.
Okay.
Because I talked of going on the bus, then you go to Chidepo, you go to Chiba, and then you do a trip yourself.
Okay.
As long as you love it. We have the tourists who come to Uganda, they book their tickets, they reach in Uganda, they just jump on the bus. They go to Chidepo, they go to the places, then they come back with a lot of experiences. Okay. If you try it once, then you can always. Okay. And you always have different levels. You have luxury, mid-range, and budget. So you can always find where you fit, and then at the end of the time, you have the same experience. Okay. Yeah. So locals, I encourage them to always book their trips. Some others drive themselves there. Okay. However, you have to always go with the guide when you get the best experience. Because if someone drove the car from Kampala to, let's say, Queen Elizabeth National Park, and reach in the park, your car gets stuck. Okay. You reach in the park, anything happens. Then you start saying, the roads in the park are bad, the authorities have not done their part, but we don't need the tarmac roads in the parks. In the parks. You don't need tarmac roads? No, we don't need them. Because if I live, if I'm always in Kampala, I'm driving on the tarmac roads, everything's noisy, the cars are shouting, I'm going to the offices of the, most of the offices are in the carinas. You find those things should not be there in the parks. When you go out there, we're going to experience another world on the same planet. Okay. Yes, in the place that is very quiet, where you can, there is a saying that getting lost on an African trip is the best experience ever. When you're driving your car in the park and then you get lost somewhere, then that's the best experience. Okay. Because you don't have to be where you've been. So if you go to where you've been, then that means that's not experience. So go get a guide to know how you can come up with a best itinerary, then you can enjoy the best trip. Because you can even get your car and then you get the guide, then you just drive yourself. You just pay the money for the drive, for the guide only. Okay. Yeah, so the local tourism is very good and they should be going on their trips.
Maybe before we get into the technology aspect, so the Uganda Tourism Board has been supportive in regarding, because there is a point you made that when you go to the park and you want to take photos for marketing, as a tour company, you're charged money still. Yeah. So how far has Uganda Tourism Board, have you tried to engage the Uganda Tourism Board about this to see how it can be made at least with a subsidized price or free?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of discussions ongoing, and to the other way, I'll be on the side of Uganda Tourism Board, but the other side, I'll still be on the side of the tour operators. Okay. Because if I go to the side of Uganda Tourism Board, there are some tour operators who just come up because they think there is money in the tourism industry. Okay. Yeah, so if they go to the parks or to the UTB for registration, and then after, they have to go to get the content for marketing. Marketing, yeah. Yes, and then others will just come and gamble. Oh. You get? Gamblers. Yes, I'm now talking on the side of Uganda Tourism Board. Right. They are our friends and their colleagues and they work together. Okay. Yes. So what do these gamblers do? Okay, we shall come back to that. Okay, so people who come into tourism industry, sometimes they've not known what to do. They just come for money. Okay. They think we are getting dollars from the people, from the foreigners and tourists. Okay. So they think it's just all about making money. Okay. So I'm just taking the picture. If Uganda Tourism Board or maybe UWA, I mean Uganda Wildlife Authority, would have allowed every tour operator to do a trip for photography and getting the content in the parks. Okay. What would happen? Because we have more than 500 tour operators in Uganda.
500 companies.
Yes, I mean those are registered companies.
Okay.
But now there are some others even which started yesterday. There are some even others who are getting the ideas as we talk now.
Perfect.
Yes,
Right.
so in the future we'll have more than 1,000. So if we allow those 1,000 operators to go in the park any day they want, that means I'm just thinking it will be a congestion.
A congestion.
And even others would not have learned about the rules and regulations of the parks, then it may not be.
Okay.
And then if I go to the side of the tour operators, I think if UTB, okay, currently UTB is doing the assessment and licensing of the tour operators and the other tourism facilities. So if after doing all this assessment, and now we know that we have this number of the tour operators on board, this number of the tour guides on the board, like we have maybe 500, maybe 600 tour operators. If we could come up with, let's say, if we have the 500 tour operators,
operators,
yes, if we give them access to the parks, at least maybe once or twice in a month, then that would make some sense.
Okay.
So you give those who you have already licensed a chance to go and assess the parks for the photography and other content. But however, UWA, I mean Uganda Wildlife Authority, has been able to give us some content.
Okay.
If they know you're a tour operator and then you do marketing and then you bring in
and licensed.
You can always assess them. You can always visit them. They can give you some photos.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that one is also there. But however, sometimes we need to speak the same language.
To speak the same language.
Exactly.
I entirely agree.
Yeah.
Now we're heading to the part of the technology. We are still looking at the tourism industry amidst the Ebola epidemic, and also trying to examine strategies on how best the industry can be boosted. And one of the ways I'm looking at is, of course, through technology. According to a report here, we're talking about the different innovation centers have been put in place, have put a relief and acceleration programs that will equip that entrepreneurs with innovative knowledge that can enable them build their businesses or find solutions to the rising problems that are emanating from the pandemic. Of course, there is a rising hope for the tourism sector in Uganda, and of course to regain profitability as there is a move to spur that's digital innovations within the industry in a project that was codenamed COVID-19 Recovery for Youth Entrepreneurs in Tourism, of course, which was largely a tech-based project whereby they were looking at the different innovations, but looking at tourism, tour innovators, tech-based tour innovations, looking at that. And of course, this was the Young Tour Operators Association, of course, tour operators in Uganda, of course, supported by other stakeholders, but funded by the European Union. Of course, an initiative scope project that was looking at the tour, like innovators within Kampala. There was also Arua, that is in West Nile, because these are some of the places that have potential tour areas right there. So the challenge took 6 months, and of course it ended with the winner walking out with about 10 million Ugandan shillings. So how's the tourism industry embracing technological innovations? That's the next point of discussion, as I'm with Mr. Kenneth here, talking about a way forward in such a situation. So Mr. Kenneth, let's talk about technology in the innovation, innovation in the tourism industry. I heard about virtual tourism. How far have we gone?
Virtual tourism, well, of course it's a good idea, but it has not worked out for some people.
In Uganda here?
Yes. Yeah, actually, well, last year I had a group of people, they were 5. They are students from Denmark.
Yeah.
So these people wanted always to do a video for them every time. After 2 months, we do a video for them for about 3 days.
Okay.
We tried it out and it failed.
Why did it fail? Why do you think it failed?
The other side, because there are some areas we don't have network. One, you could go there and then you don't have internet. You know, you have to do a live video for them as you do the gameplays. And also, sometimes we deal with nature in tourism.
Nature.
Actually, basically, bigger part of it is nature. We deal with nature.
Okay.
So, when we go to the park, someone has already prepared to be on video. Ken is going for a trip, going to be giving a live video about the animals in the park.
Yeah.
If I leave today to Queen Elizabeth National Park, someone is already waiting to watch my video.
Okay.
I reach in the park, this person paid the data, they got their time to go and watch what I'm going to be putting online.
Okay.
Time comes, they expected to see the lions, they expected to see the leopards, and then hippos and many others. In the turn, we're playing the game with nature.
Okay.
Nothing gives me the chance.
Okay.
So what do you think the other person thinks? Next time they want to be able to follow me.
So they will think even, do they pay in advance? Or it's after the video? So they've already paid you the money and the thing has failed?
Yes. So to be in a good harmony with them, you pay back their money.
Okay.
Yes. So everyone would like to have everything because we watch the TVs everywhere, watch the national parks, watch everything on the TV. So they want to look at that physical thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the other side is it doesn't work out for some people. Though sometimes it's a way to start to convince someone to come to the country.
A way to it's perfect.
Yes. So because if someone is watching you in the park live, they'll think, I would like to have a physical look at that particular animal they've shown us in the video.
Yeah.
Because they think this is a live video, so that is the reality.
The reality.
Yeah. So next time they will always feel like they want to come and have it physically.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has worked out sometimes. To that, the other side it doesn't work out because if you go to Gwindi National Park, Kanungu down in southwestern part of Uganda, you will have low network, low at no network.
Okay.
So it will be hard for you to do such.
Okay.
So it's done in places where you have some good network.
So you're passing a message to the telecommunication companies
Actually, they should do.
Stabilize networks?
Yeah, they should do in the parks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Of course, network. Telecommunication companies urged to improve on the data because some areas are not in position to access the right internet, and this could be one of the ways to come into the virtual tourism, and virtual tourism can be a very profitable because first of all, if a tourist is saving money to pay to buy a flight ticket to come to a country, and the only thing they have to do is to pay for a virtual tour and they can experience this at their comfort of their homes, that can be very positive on their side, and I believe if that is perfected, it will improve that. So maybe apart from virtual tourism, you talked about it the first time you tried it, it failed. In which other ways, apart from virtual tourism, any other innovations that have been embraced in the tourism industry to ensure that it returns back to the pre-pandemic levels?
Yeah, yes, there are quite a number of them. Of course, there are some other activities that have always been brought on board, like those bungee jumping, the zip linings. Okay. They've been brought on board, and they've always, actually, most of the local tourists like them so much, and that's actually the technology behind that is always very good. Though sometimes it's so scary for some people, but it's a very good experience. So if you go for bungee jumping, I found some good technology, and the price is not very expensive, so it makes it a bit better and much easier for the local tourists. Okay. And hence attracting the international tourists as well to come to do them. Okay. So then we have also the zip lining, which is done in Mabira, and then in Kaba you have some. Okay. So that has been also been able to boost tourism. Okay. Yeah, whereby locals mostly go there because they think it's much cheaper for them than they go to the national parks. Okay. However, it's not true. Okay. Other parks can still go. Then hotels are also doing their part in applying the technology in, in the parks, and also sometimes some of the hotels are doing their best to bring in network. Network. Yes. Because imagine if I'm booking an accommodation in Chidepo and there's no network, it takes me a week to have my feedback if I could have the accommodation or not. Okay. So sometimes hotels are doing their best to put in their money to get the network. Okay. To have their facilities access the networks. Because if I go to Chidepo National Park or to Maction Falls National Park, and me as a tourist, I don't have internet, then because I'm in another world. I'm in another world, so I have to connect to my friends. Imagine I'm doing a trip of 20 days in Uganda and I'm offline. Okay. What will my friends think? Because I cannot let everyone know that I'm going to Uganda for a trip. Okay. Yes, but however, I'm encouraging the tour operators who are there to always make these people have, actually it's a tip for them, have access to the internet. Okay. It costs you nothing to have, if you have a trip of maybe if you have two people, maybe one person in the car, and then the person paid maybe $2,000, $5,000, you get data is really very cheap. You can't use more than 50,000 for 10 days for data. If you go to your Wi-Fi and then you put it in the car, and then you make these people connected for the whole trip, it's another way of making them feel at home. Because I've been doing this for a number of times, and every review you see on Google about my business, the biggest percentage are like, we have internet in the car. So it's a tip for the tour operators there. You can always do this, and it's really very cheap. So the small thing you do for a client or for a tourist that costs you little money will make them think, I'm at home. Yes, because if someone entered with the car, then you can even make it much better and much so surprising. Have the Wi-Fi name, put the password as their name. If I was having Babu on my trip, I was put, let's say, Wi-Fi name, Kenny Tours and Travel, then the Wi-Fi password, Babu. So once they enter the car, Wi-Fi is there, password,
Babu.
your first name, Babu. Someone will be like, wow, this is so interesting.
So interesting.
They're always happy. So we've not tried our best to use the technology. So if we use that way, the technology that way, clients always be happy. So it's another way of making the clients happy. It's a trick for them, and it works out.
That's very interesting. Maybe let's wind this up with advice, based on your experience, definitely, on how in such a time when the country is Ebola, and majority of the people are afraid, because a person living outside Uganda thinks Ebola is everywhere. So how best are you operating in such a time to ensure that you stay in business? Because that's the bigger picture at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're right. One, we need to remind the tourists that Uganda still has spaces or places to visit. Uganda still has a lot of activities to do. So when COVID-19 came, most people had their minds occupied by the COVID-19. When Ebola has come, some others are getting their minds occupied by Ebola. So which is not the right way to go. Let's not look at the pandemic. Once the country has been declared safe for travels, then why not go there for a trip? Yes, so once it's open for travel, then let's go and travel. Then tour operators, my advice to them, the tourism stakeholders, these things are not to us for a short time, they are there for life. I remember in COVID-19 time, we used to have people say, we cannot avoid this, but you can learn how to live with it. So we need to learn how to live with these situations, epidemics. We know how to handle the businesses with them, because we don't expect businesses to remain the way we found them. Either fit there or make the change. If you can't change, then you change
the industry. Or you quit the industry. Because some people
quit the industry. And once you quit, then you're a failure. You've given a devil a chance to put you down. So we need to just learn how to fit in. Then we show the clients, the tourists, that Uganda is always safe. And always don't forget to market. Show them always. Remind them, no matter this is happening, no matter how the epidemics, but Uganda still has a lot of things to do and safe for travels. And then when you definitely get your bookings, make sure the bookings do their part as bookings. If I paid my money for that trip, let it be reserved for my trip. Because you used my money for that trip, I happen to be on a trip tomorrow, and you think Ken is now we're going to go into the lockdown, because now if Ken paid his money for the trip, that means he may not come now. So let me use the money for other things. Because remember that tourism has gone down because of the epidemics. So now we know that people are not going to be coming. Let me go into farming, into other things. Please, money for tourism should always remain with money for that tourism. So let's always be with financial discipline. It's very important.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Hafsha Kenneth, for that insight. Very interesting. Right there. Yes, we've come to the end of the topical discussion. It's exactly 26 minutes past the hour. That's of 9 a.m. And the discussion this time around has been on the tourism industry amidst the Ebola epidemic. And of course, one of the greatest lessons that we can learn is that we should learn to live with the situations, make it much more better, encourage innovative ideas, because epidemics will never end They have always been before the world. They are till date, and they will be in the future. That is just the pattern of life. So let's embrace changes and learn to live with them. Of course, at this particular time, we're heading into a commercial break, and we'll return with SMV on ground. Good morning.